So you want to hear what Chris Jericho had to say about Vince McMahon? Well, I can tell you in this video. Look, Chris Jericho, top star in WB. He's a top star in AEW. He's done it all. He's honestly probably in the conversation of being the GOAT, considering how many times he's been able to reinvent himself. And while speaking with Chris Van Vliet, the former AEW World Heavyweight Champion was asked about Vince McMahon and the decision by TKO for Vince McMahon to fully step away from his creative role in WB following the acquisition of the Endeavor Group and the merger with the UFC to create the TKO holding group. Jericho had this very interesting to say. I mean, once again, there's reasons why he's stepping aside, and I'm not talking about that side of things. I never thought he would step down because, on a quick side note, Triple H is obviously running main roster creative. He's done so since the summer of 2022, and what he's referring to in terms of things is the sexual harassment allegations and misconduct and all that good stuff. Anyway, Jericho had this to say to continue. I think those other issues come up. There's no way he would have, meaning being out. But also Vince is also smart. And I bet he was like, okay, I'm at the point now where this is not good for me to be here. So he trained and groomed Triple H for 20 years and probably felt confident enough that things were going to continue without him. And I will say this all the time in AEW. I think everybody could use 6 months working with Vince McMahon because that's what you really understand what wrestling is, the wrestling business is, and how business works. He then continued by stating that I loved working for him. I loved going head to head with him and creating ideas and debating ideas and arguing ideas. But he always used to say that I'm not here just to teach you wrestling lessons. I'm here to teach you life lessons. And he did teach me a lot of life lessons. The guy really is a cool guy. From my experiences with him, not easy to deal with and an a-hole sometimes, but he's your boss. You're not supposed to be friends with your boss all the time. But then you still get on the private jet and drink for 4 hours. He has a work ethic. He would always say that I don't expect you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, and that rubs off. There's a way that WB works where you don't say no to anything. I mean, they ask you to do press, you do it. They ask you to sign 1,000 action figures, you do it. Because if you don't, you know there's going to be consequences and big ones. And I think everybody in AEW needs to understand that sometimes. And I agree because it's been well documented that AEW has a lot of backstage issues with talent. CM Punk tried to squash that and ban people from collision events, and it didn't work. So, yeah, I think Jericho's spot